The flight of Little Joe 2, which is December the 4th, 1959. This was a flight that was designed for aeromedical purposes. And the aeromedical purposes were the flight of a Rhesus monkey. And here you see the compartment for the Rhesus monkey. This monkey was named Sam, and his name was derived from his alma mater, the School of Aviation Medicine. That's where Sam got his name. And Sam was going to ride this Little Joe Mercury spacecraft, designed to go up to a height of about 70 miles, and see how he did. At the height of 70 miles on the ballistic trajectory he was designed, not designed, but which he was to follow, he would experience about 4 minutes of weightlessness. And this was really the first chance of this to see what this prolonged weightlessness would do to a biological being similar to humans. Here you see him being prepared in his couch. There was a liner that went on the couch which really restricted Sam's movement. Sam was a Rhesus monkey. There's Sam, and in a later flight, Miss Sam. Here you see the compartment that Sam flew in. He would sit in this compartment, and then that compartment would be sealed, and everything that Sam needed from an environmental standpoint was provided inside. Now this came about a month after the Little Joe 1A flight, and that flight, while it was partially successful, it ended up having the escape rocket fire 10 seconds after maximum dynamic pressure, so it wasn't 100% successful. But at this point, the launch vehicle had been proven to be fairly reliable. Here we have a ceiling of Sam's compartment, and Sam's compartment would sit inside the Mercury Boilerplate spacecraft, which you see here. There were a lot of things that the Air Force medical specialists wanted to learn, but in particular was to see how well Sam would withstand weightlessness during the trip. There were two other folks who attended the launch, Alan Shepard and Gus Grissom, who were also interested to see how well Sam fared, obviously. This was the first of the chimp flights. And here we see the vehicle readied for launch. And the flight of Sam. Now the flight burned out at an altitude, here from on board, burned out at an altitude of 100,000 feet, and the tower and capsule separated as planned. The escape rocket gave it an additional boost, and it went up to about 280,000 feet or 53 miles. It was about 100,000 feet lower than expected because of a windage error, and Sam actually experienced only 3 minutes of weightlessness instead of the planned 4. But he survived the mild reentry and was actually in the spacecraft for about 6 hours before he was recovered by a destroyer. Again, this is onboard footage out the porthole. All of these flights were with porthole spacecraft up through Alan Shepard. After Alan Shepard came the larger window over the pilot. Shepard flew the last of the spacecraft with the portholes. Here we see another view. Ignition underway. Probably lose the view as soon as the escape rocket fires. We'll soot up the window. It's already getting sooted. Here we see another view from shooting down. And recovery. Little Joe 2, Sam, the first chip flight, recovered on destroyer. He was in for about 6 hours. And when he was finally liberated, he was fine. Although some of the aeromedical specialists were a bit disappointed in that it did not go into a regime or as high and as much weightlessness as they had hoped to be able to experience on this flight. So there was some disappointment. But it was the first time that it had achieved and everything had happened the way it was planned, with the exception of the windage area. Everything had happened the way it was planned, at least as far as the launch vehicle and the spacecraft had done. So from that standpoint, the flight was a success, although there was some disappointment by the aeromedical community. As you can see, Sam was tucked in there.